Hi. So today I want to talk about the next in my series of cult tactics. This one's called Control What You Are Allowed to Know. Other people talk about it as information control. So sometimes hiding things from you completely makes it too obvious. This technique is a bit more sophisticated than that. There's a few different ways this shows up. You can confiscate things, you can allow other information through, but neutralize it in advance. So people are already coming at it with a preconceived idea of what it says. And a big one is you make looking at outside information a punishable offense. In essence, you keep people so busy reacting to the outside world that they never actually have time to look at it for themselves, make up their own minds about what they're reading or seeing. No, they immediately react based on what they've already been taught to do. So when I was in the Sea Org, both at the Int Base and at Flag, none of us had TVs. Well, probably Miscavige had a TV, but whatever. We were allowed to subscribe to magazines, but they were all checked before they got to us. So if there was a subscription that they didn't think we should have, they confiscated it and then put us into ethics to find out why we would subscribe to that in the first place. And here's a really good example. It was when the Time magazine article came out in 1991, I think it was, called The Cult of Greed and Power. And David Miscavige ended up going on Nightline. It was his only televised interview ever. Now, you would think that we wouldn't be allowed to watch that, but no, we were made to watch it. However, they made sure to tell us ahead of time that the stuff that Nightline was going to say about Scientology at the beginning, that was all lies. That was all made up so that they could have a show and paint us in a bad light. But we knew the truth. So we watched it and just ignored all the stuff that they said at the beginning so we could watch our dear leader, David Miscavige, be, well, David Miscavige on TV, which was a sight in itself. If you haven't seen that interview, it's worth watching. But it didn't end there. I mean, we went on a massive campaign against Time Magazine, and we spent in the art studio in Central Marketing at Golden Era Productions, we spent days and nights and days and nights putting together these full page ads that ran in USA Today about how horrible Time Magazine was, their whole evil history and all this. So we did all these full page ads, right? That went in USA Today and they were denigrating Time Magazine and the IRS and all these other people. And the interesting part about all this is that none of us were allowed to read the article that we were doing the ads against. We just had to take their word for it, what was in the article, and then write the ads that were scrutinized by David Miscavige to make sure everything was said correctly, right? But we never got to read the article itself. The first time I actually read that article was I was about a year out of Scientology, and I was doing a deep dive into L. Ron Hubbard and the truth about him. And when I read that article, at first I was like, oh, this is the article we weren't supposed to read. Okay, well, let me get into this. And I started reading it, and I was really disgusted by what I read. And I think the hardest part for me was reading all of the terrible things that Scientology had done to people who came out against them. This was back in 2008, I think I was reading this. And let me tell you something, that kept me quiet for a long time. The fear that they would come after me or my family or make me lose my job or kill one of my pets. These fears were valid and real. And I didn't want to, talk about it for the longest time. But I am now. And here's the thing, you don't have to be in a cult to recognize this one, right? Like, I don't know, the partner who gets angry when you talk to certain people, or the workplace where questioning the leadership means you're a troublemaker or an instigator, right? Or the family system where topics just aren't discussed because people are afraid to bring them up because they know what that's going to lead to. Anytime somebody else is deciding what information you're allowed to have, take a look at that because the answer almost always is that it has something to do with keeping you in line. So that's tactic number 3. Follow me for more culty goodness.